With another math video. Today we're starting a new unit. We are starting chapter 12, and we are going to be talking about relative size and measurement units. So today we have a lot of vocabulary to cover, so let's go ahead and get started. So today we are talking about conversions, and we have customary conversions, and we also have metric conversions. So we will talk through what both of those are, but we're going to start with customary conversions. So customary conversions are things like length, weight, and capacity, whereas metric conversions are length, mass, and liquid volume. So let me give you some examples of customary conversions. Some examples are foot, inch, yard, and mile. So let's start with the customary conversions, which are foot, inch, yard, mile. The first one we're going to talk about is 1 foot. 1 foot is the length of a measuring stick. If you have just a 1 foot measuring stick, like the ones you might have in your desk at school. And it's also about the length of a football. So I'm going to drag that there. It's about the length of a football. Then we have an inch. From what you know about these words already, because I'm sure you've heard some of these words before, do you think an inch is bigger than a foot or smaller than a foot? If a foot is a ruler or a measuring stick that we have in our desk at school, and the measuring stick is broken up by inches, do you think the inch is bigger than the measuring stick, bigger than the foot, or smaller? An inch is smaller, I'll tell you that. An inch is about the width of a bottle cap. So if you take a Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever it is, and you just look at the lid of it, or I have this juice right here. This is even bigger, but it's about an inch, okay? Then we have a yard. And a yard is a measuring stick that you wouldn't find in your desk, but a measuring stick that you might have seen a teacher have that's kind of longer. And it's about the length of a baseball bat. So a yard is about the length of a baseball bat, 1 yard. Then the longest one we have is a mile. And a mile is about how far you would walk if you walked for 20 minutes. So if I said I live 1 mile away from school, that means it would take me about 20 minutes to walk to school. So if I only live 5 minutes away from school walking, do I live a mile away from school? No. And if it takes me 3 hours to walk to school, do I live a mile away from school? No. If you live 20 minutes walking from something, you live about a mile. Okay, so most places that you would walk to are within a mile. If it's more than a mile, you might take a bus or you might drive, but you could walk further than a mile. It's up to you and your family. I'm just saying about 20 minutes walking equals 1 mile. Okay, now we're going to go over kind of the metric version of that. So those were all customary units for length. Now we're going to talk about metric units of length. And length is how long something is. So these are both, this is customary for length, and then this is metric for length. Metric talks about things in meters, centimeters, kilometers. So I'll tell you right now the littlest one that you find on a ruler is a centimeter. And a centimeter is about the width of your finger. Okay? It's about the width of your finger. 1 meter is about that length of that big stick, the big measuring stick that a teacher might have, and that's about the width of a door. And 1 kilometer is the length of 9 soccer fields. So knowing that information, what's bigger, a kilometer or a meter? For sure, a kilometer. Think about 9 soccer fields all lined up. That would be 1 kilometer. So a kilometer is super big. back to the customary conversions, we are going to go to another slide where what we're being asked to do today, that was all just vocab. What we're being asked to do today is to be able to make a good estimate using those vocab words we just learned. So let's see, a length of a purse, your mom's bag or your bag, would you measure that in feet or in inches? So would you measure it using a football length or using inches on a bottle cap? I'm going to go back. Does it seem like this purse would be 11 footballs long, or would the purse be 11 of these caps long? And I'm going to go ahead and drag my circle. I think it's actually going to be 11 inches. Now let's look at distance running. If I run about 30 minutes, if I run for 30 minutes, am I going to, if I run for 30 minutes, am I going to run 3 yards? So am I only going to run the length of 3 baseball bats? Or am I going to run about as far as someone could walk for 20 minutes? If I run for 30 minutes, is it reasonable that I might run for 3 miles? Yes. It's not reasonable to think in 30 minutes I'm going to only go 3 yards. That would only be three of those baseball sticks long. Okay? The next one is the length of a soccer field. The length of a soccer field, do we think it's 360 feet or 360 miles? Remember, 1 mile takes you 20 minutes to walk. So is it going to be 360 times 20? Is that how long it would take you to walk across a football field? Or is it more likely, remember we measure our feet in footballs, is it about 360 footballs lined up? Which one makes more sense? I would say it makes more sense for it to be 360 footballs lined up would be the length of a soccer field versus 360 miles, which would take you a very, very long time. And a soccer field, think about, you can get across a soccer field in quicker than 20 minutes. So it's less than a mile long. The height of a palm tree is about 10 feet, or is it about 10 yards? So let's go back. Feet are footballs, and yards are baseball bats. So do we think that a palm tree is 10 footballs or 10 baseball bats? I would say it's 10 baseball bats. The length of a blackboard, or like a dry erase board at our school, the ones that are up in front of the classroom, is that 7 feet or 7 inches? So would you say that it is 7 little bottle caps, or would you say it is 7 footballs across? Our whiteboard at school, would you say it's 7 little bottle caps or 7 footballs? I would say 7 footballs. And then the last one, the length of your phone. Think about your cell phone. Is it 6 inches or 6 yards? So let's go back to our examples. 6 inches would be 6 of these little bottle caps, and 6 yards would be 6 baseball bats. So is this phone 6 baseball bats stacked high or 6 bottle caps stacked high? I would say it's 6 bottle caps. So that's kind of what you're going to be asked to do on your homework tonight. On the Google form, I'm going to give you an item, and you're going to try to measure it. You're not actually measuring it. You're thinking what kind of measurement makes sense. Let's do it with metric one more time. I want you to try the metric on your own. So go ahead and pause the screen and think about what would you put for the metric. Okay, hopefully you paused and you're coming back to check your work. The length of a bandage. Is a bandage 5 centimeters or 5 meters? So let's go back to our examples. Do you see how every time I'm going back to the example and thinking to myself, what makes sense? What makes sense? So 5 centimeters is like 5 of my fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or is it about 5 meters, which would be 5 doors? Which one is the size of a Band-Aid? Definitely the finger. So I'm going to do 5 centimeters. The length of the East River. So a river, do we think a river is 26 doors long? Think about a river. Does a river look like it's 26 doors long? Or does it look like it's 26 times 9 soccer fields? Tons of soccer fields. What do you think? Is a river 26 doors long or 26 kilometers? I'm going to go with 26 kilometers. That river looks really big. The distance driven in 20 minutes. Do you think in 20 minutes we go 16 kilometers? 16 kilometers, remember, are the length of 9 soccer fields. 1 kilometer is the length of 9 soccer fields. Or is it 16 centimeters? Do you think you could pass like 160 soccer fields in 20 minutes if they were all lined up back to back to back to back? Or do you think you'd only go as far as 16 of my little fingers in 20 minutes in the car? You would definitely go past a ton of soccer fields in 20 minutes in the car. The length of running a track. Is it 400 meters or 400 kilometers? If I run around the track, is it 400 doors or 400 times 9 soccer fields? One time around the track is definitely only 400 meters. It's about 400 doors stacked up. The width of a piece of paper, 22 meters. So is the paper going to be 22 doors stacked up or 22 centimeters, 22 of my little fingers? A piece of paper would definitely, it's not the length of 22 doors, it's definitely the length of my fingers. And then lastly, the height of a house. Is it 6 centimeters, so 6 of my little fingers, or 6 meters, like 6 doors? And I'm going to go with 6 meters. So I'm going to post a Google form and some additional practice, and you guys are going to try estimating the length of things, of items, based on what we just learned with metric and customary units. Also, I want to say thank you to Clarissa and her mom for my awesome t-shirt. I hope you guys are all staying well and healthy, and that you would let me know if you have any questions, okay? I'll see you guys tomorrow during my hangout if you have questions about the homework. If not, just post it and make sure that you press turn in. See you guys.